Hey guys, this is your host Richard with another marvelous video. Welcome science fiction fans to yet another marvelous video. In today's video, we'll take you on a journey across the space-time continuum through various galaxies and parallel dimensions. Get your goggles ready folks as we dive into a few of the most underrated science fiction TV shows from the 1970s. Now, without further ado, welcome to Marvelous Videos. 17 most underrated sci-fi TV shows of this 70s. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Space 1999-1975. Starting off our list, we have Space 1999. Rumored to be the most expensive TV show to be made at the time, the plot of Space 1999 is simple, but its simplicity is also what makes it expensive. Imagine a world where humanity stores its waste on the moon. Well, that's what the creative geniuses behind the show thought up, and Space 1999 was born. The show revolves around the predicament of the residents of Moonbase Alpha, a science research facility situated in the northern hemisphere of the moon's crater, Plato. Sites for large nuclear waste disposal was set up on the moon's far side and had been used by humanity to store its nuclear waste until September 13, 1999, when an unidentified type of magnetic radiation was discovered. At that point, the waste had reached critical mass and exploded into a gigantic thermonuclear explosion. The explosion leaves the moon stranded, sending it hurtling out of the orbit of Earth and into space at the speed of a gigantic booster rocket. There are 311 members assigned to Alpha who are stuck with no way out. In a sense, the escaped moon takes on the role of the spacecraft that the main characters use to hunt for a new place to call home. The moon travels through a black hole shortly after leaving Earth's solar system, and then two space warps drive it even farther into the cosmos. The Alphans come across a variety of extraterrestrial civilizations, dystopian systems, and mind-blowing events on the galactic voids that were not previously known to humanity. A number of the first series of episodes refer to the possibility that a mysterious unknown force was steering the Alphans toward their end goal and influencing the moon's path. Simple action-based plots have been used in the second series. The show stars at the time were Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, who were married and had previously starred in Mission Impossible together. And no, this isn't the Mission Impossible you're thinking of. This is the American show of the 1960s, which inspired the now famous movie series that features Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. Much to the disappointment of the fans, the series was cancelled, but after the show was cancelled, 4 feature-length films were assembled from different episodes for international theatrical release and distribution. Cosmic Princess in 1982, Journey Through the Black Sun in 1982, Alien Attack in 1979, and Destination Moonbase Alpha in 1978. Although it was the second of these films to be broadcast, Alien Attack was an extension of the television series' pilot episode. The majority used brand new footage. Alien Attack, for instance, featured brand new Earth-set scenes without the TV cast. The events were reframed to take place in the year 2100 AD instead of 1999, changing the series' backdrop.
Civil prisoners.
Blake 7, 1978. Imagine a world in which the government controls your every move. We've seen plenty of shows, books and movies based on such a concept. From books and movies like The Hunger Games and Fahrenheit 451 to shows like Snowpiercer and Altered Carbon. Well, the next show on our list follows this concept. The story of Blake 7 is about the adventures of the political dissident Roger Blake, who fights alongside a small band of rebels against the oppressive Terran Federation, which controls the Earth and several other colonial worlds. To keep its subjects under control, the Federation employs drug-based pacification, brainwashing, and widespread surveillance. Blake was taken into custody, had a bogus trial, and was sent to a distant prison colony. Along the way, he manages to escape along with other inmates, Jenna Stannis, Vila Restal, and Care Avon, on a highly developed extraterrestrial spacecraft named Liberator. According to the central computer Zen, the Liberator possesses higher speed and armament compared to Federation craft, in addition to a teleportation mechanism that allows for planet surface travel. As Blake and his crew launch an attack on the Federation, Space Commander Travis, a soldier in the Federation, and Servalan, the Supreme Commander and eventually the Federation President, pursue them. Over the course of the series, the makeup of the so-called Seven varies. Zen was the 7th member of Blake, Vila, Gan, Jenna, Avon, and Callie's original gang. They take control of Aurak, a supercomputer, at the conclusion of the first season. Dana and Tarrant, 2 new characters, take Blake and Jenna's place after Gan's death in the second series. After Callie passes away at the beginning of the 4th series, Sulin takes a position. On board their newly taken over ship Scorpio, Slave takes the role of Zen, the computer that was on board before Liberators destroyed. Blake is a fighter filled with ideals and a desire for freedom, but his cronies are small-time thieves, smugglers, and murderers. Avon is a technological prodigy who continuously does good deeds for others despite appearing to be driven by wealth and self self-preservation. Avon takes over as commander after Blake gets separated from his team. Avon initially thinks the Federation has been destroyed. He grows weary of murdering and decides to rest. But by the middle of the third season, Avon's returned to the battle after realizing that the Federation is growing once more and quicker than he anticipated. Well, this show certainly gave me a run for my money. It's truly epic that the people from the 70s were terrified of technology taking over and how the government could use it to track us. Well, can't blame them, since a lot of us have the same concerns. Battlestar Galactica, 1978. In a distant galaxy, the 12 colonies of mankind were nearing the end of a millennium-long conflict in a far-off star system with the Cylons, military machines built by a long-extinct reptile civilization that was most likely wiped out by its own inventions. In the end, humanity was vanquished by the Cylons in a covert attack on the colonies, which they carried out with the assistance of a human traitor named Baltar. The survivors fled in whatever ships were available, shielded by the only capital battleship to survive, a battlestar known as Galactica. This marks the beginning of Battlestar Galactica, a show about a ragtag fugitive fleet of 220 ships commanded by Adama, the Galactica's commander, in quest of a new home. They set off on a mission to locate the long-lost 13th tribe of humans who had made their home on the fabled planet Earth. But the Cylons are still after them, hounding them all throughout the galaxy. One of the primary characters is Captain Apollo, Adama's son and a fighter pilot with the Colonials. Lieutenant Starbuck, a well-liked fighter pilot who also enjoys gambling and womanizing, is his best friend. The television show itself never makes it clear when this exodus occurred. At the beginning of the series, it's said to be the 7th millennium of time. However, it's unclear when this relates to Earth's history. When Galactica gets a television transmission from Earth depicting the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, the final episode that was broadcast, The Hand of God, suggests that the original series took place after the landing. The Starlost, 1973. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the next show on our list, chronicling the story of humanity after the destruction of Earth. It's none other than The Starlost. The show begins with humanity predicting the doom of Earth and constructing the 200-mile, 320-kilometer long and 50-mile, 80-kilometer broad Earthship Ark, a multi-generational spacecraft. There are several dozen biospheres on the ship, each containing thousands of inhabitants from various cultural backgrounds. Their mission is to locate and populate a new planet around a far-off star. After an unknown incident more than a century into the journey, in 2385, the ship enters emergency mode and seals off each biosphere from the others. Is, anyone else getting a Wall-E vibe? No, just me. Okay, let's move on with the story of Starlost. Now, where was I? Oh, right, yeah. The biospheres are closed off. Devon, the citizen of Cypress Corners, an agricultural village with an Amish-like culture, finds that his world is far bigger and more strange than he'd imagined in 2790, 405 years after the disaster. Devon, who's seen as an outsider due to his skepticism toward the status quo, and particularly for opposing his friend Garth's arranged marriage to his girlfriend Rachel, learns that the elders of Cypress Corners have been purposefully tampering with the community computer terminal, which they refer to as the voice of the creator. That's, not creepy at all. The leaders of the congregation plan to have Devon put to death for assaulting the elders and the theft of a computer cassette containing their recorded instructions. However, elderly Abraham, who's also questioning the elders, gives Devon a key to a mysterious dark doorway that Abraham is afraid to enter. Devon flees into the ship's service areas out of fear and gains access to a computer data station where a description of the Ark's functions and purpose is provided, along with a hint to potential issues. Devon is tried for heresy and given a death by stoning sentence when he goes back to Cypress Corners to share his newfound knowledge with his people. The night before his execution, Devon escapes with Garth's help. He persuades Rachel to accompany him, and Garth follows them. He joins Rachel and Devon after she declines to go back with Garth. They eventually arrive at the ship's bridge, which is home to the skeletal remains of the crew. Its control systems are not working and is severely damaged. The three realize that finding the backup bridge at the other end of the Ark and turning on the navigation and propulsion systems is the only way to save the Ark and its occupants when they learn that the Ark is headed straight for a collision with a Class G star, which is identical to the Sun. Reaching the opposite end of the Ark, which could be hundreds of miles distant, will require passing through the starship several dissimilar communities, some of which are hostile toward outsiders, and all of which have unique social norms, religious beliefs, and legal systems. As Devon, Rachel, and Garth navigate the ship, they typically come across a new society or group in each episode. This is really great to see. It's almost like having a mini-Earth in space, or it could be like James Cameron's Avatar movie series, where there are different tribes living with their own set of rules. Even though there's no denying that the show is amazing, every now and then the ship's annoying and only partially functional computer system interface called Mu Lambda 165 helps or hinders them. Well, it depends on how you look at it on their journey.
Time, Flex! No! Libido!
Quark, 1977 to 1978. You don't need to look twice. The show's not called Quack, it's called Quark. Well, considering what the show is about, you can't be blamed for assuming it is all quack. The show often used to be a parody of Star Trek, which was immensely popular during the time. There were even 3 straight parodies of Star Trek episodes. So, what is the story of Quack? Sorry, I mean, Quark. Well, the United Galaxy Sanitation Patrol Cruiser, an interstellar waste scow based in the year 2226 out of United Galaxy Space Station Perma-1, served as the setting for the television program. The story follows the protagonist, Adam Quark, and his dependable and extremely peculiar crew go out and gather space baggies in order to help clean up rubbish in space. During its brief existence, certain episodes also parodied popular science fiction series, including Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Star Wars. We should meet the characters of the show too, right? Well, let's take a look. Adam Quark is the commander who finds himself collecting garbage rather than having a spectacular, notable mission. He's incredibly unfortunate despite being talented and smart. Moving on to his crew, Betty 1 and Betty 2, sometimes known as the Bettys, are the ship's pilots and navigators. They have the same intense burning feelings for Quark and are exactly the same. They frequently speak in harmony and think the same thing at precisely the same moment. Jean is a humanoid transmute possessing both of the chromosomes from both female and male organisms. He or she is the engineer of the ship. A split personality is one way that gender confusion shows up. When Jean's male macho side takes over, he's pathologically hateful of the Klingon-like Gorgons, angry, violent, and gung-ho, while Jean, who's much more reserved, is so feminine that it's almost a stereotype, pacifistic, demure, and a little bit cowardly. Oftentimes, without warning, and generally at the worst conceivable moment, he or she will flip personalities. The elderly mad scientist type who makes an appearance in the pilot episode, O.B. Mudd, is the research and equipment specialist. He's described as devoting most of his free time to making Andy flawless. Now, for those who were wondering who Andy is a frightened and neurotic robot with a non-human appearance that was constructed out of spare components. Ficus Pandorata, an alien of the intelligent plant race known as Vegetan, is Quark's Spock-like scientific officer. Despite his tendency to shrivel up when dehydrated, he has a totally human appearance. He's incredibly perceptive, smart, and consistently cool-headed and sensible, but he lacks all human emotions, including tact and fear. He often finds it difficult to comprehend the actions of the other members of the crew, and his curiosity often leads him to argue philosophically with Quark about the state of humanity, which is often at the most inconvenient times. I'm totally invested in this Star Trek meets Guardians of the Galaxy mix-up and definitely need their laughs. UFO, 1970 to 1971. The show that we have coming up next on the list reminds me of Will Smith's Independence Day movie. A secret organization defending against invading aliens? Sign me up! Although the premise of the show UFO is a tad bit different from Will Smith's iconic movie, it's still humans versus aliens. The basic plot of the series is that in 1980, aliens from a dying world are visiting Earth, kidnapping people and using the body parts for their own bodies. There's a chance that the alien invasions are a lead up to a potential full-scale invasion. The primary cast of the show consists of members of the high-tech covert international military agency known as Shadow, Supreme Headquarters Alien Defense Organization, which was founded by the governments of the US, UK, USSR, France, Germany, and the US to protect Earth and humanity from the mysterious aliens and to gather information about them while simultaneously keeping the threat of an alien invasion a secret from the general public. Under the guise of the Harlington Straker Studios film studio in England, Shadow is led by Commander Edward Straker, an ex-astronaut and colonel in the US Air Force, whose cover is his position as chief executive of the company. With a range of cutting-edge equipment and vehicles at its disposal, Shadow can establish a multi-tiered defense system for Earth. SID, the Space Intruder Detector, an unmanned computerized tracking satellite that continuously looks for UFO intrusions, provided early signs of an alien attack. Moonbase, from which the 3 Lunar Interceptor spacecraft, each of which fires a single explosive warhead, are launched, serves as the first line of defense. Now, moving on to the tech that Shadow uses. Shadow definitely has some pretty sweet tech. Shadow deploys 2 Shadair aircraft on Earth, a radio-controlled space dumper, a transatlantic lunar carrier with a separating lunar module, a Seagull X-ray supersonic jet, and a transport plane. All of these aircraft are used by Shadow. Moonhoppers, also known as moonmobiles, are hovercraft-like vehicles that can be used for transportation and reconnaissance on the moon base. What about the aliens in the show? Well, the alien race is merely referred to as the aliens. Neither they nor humans ever give them a formal name. Their look is humanoid, and the first captured aliens' post-mortem analysis shows that they're taking organs from kidnapped humans in order to lengthen their own lives. The green color on the faces is the result of a green oxygenated liquid that's within their helmets and is said to protect the lungs from the intense acceleration of intergalactic travel. The aliens use opaque sclera contact lenses with tiny pinholes for vision in order to safeguard their eyes. The aliens' personal weapons are similar to bright metal submachine guns. The similarities between the show and Independence Day are increasing now. The series is definitely a great science fiction show. The Fantastic Journey, 1977. As a child, I was always interested in mysteries around the world. One of those mysteries was the Bermuda Triangle, an area where ships and planes go missing without any explanation. Several movies and books have used this dangerous area as a setting for the plots, and that's also the case for the show that we're going to take a look at next. In The Fantastic Journey, a family and their friends hire a boat to go on a scientific adventure in the Caribbean in the television series. The crew is stranded on an unknown island in the Bermuda Triangle, where they're unable to flee, following their meeting with a brilliant green mist and the unsettling sound of ship bells. They come across Varian, who's subsequently discovered to be from the year 2230 and is originally dressed as an Arawak native. Varian, a pacifist, musician, and healer from the 23rd century, tells the visitors that they've been ensnared, along with many others before them, in a space-time continuum where individuals from the past, present, future, and other worlds are imprisoned and coexist on the island in a number of time zones. Evoland is a place far to the rising sun, where the only route home is found. Invisible portals that instantly move people or organizations between time zones are the only means of interconnecting between them. Following the first pilot story, a consistent group of travelers coalesces around Varian, who serves as the group's de facto leader. The series then tracks this group as they traverse the island's multiple time zones in search of Evoland. Along the journey, they come across individuals who have also been stranded on the island but have evolved to cope in different ways from those from other planets and eras. At first, the pilot implied that the area's past would be investigated. However, under pressure from the network, the show quickly acquired a constantly futuristic look throughout the season. The Tomorrow People, 1973 to 1979. I'm sure that every one of us at some point in our lives has dreamt of having superpowers. From telepathy like Professor X from X-Men or Magneto's ability to control metal, to flying like Superman or hydrokinesis like Aquaman. There's a power that we'd like. This show tells the story of the next step in human evolution, the Homo Novus, or the Homo Superior. Shout out to David Bowie. That's a mouthful, is it not? Well, they're more commonly known as the Tomorrow People. A seemingly typical kid born to human parents may, at a moment between early childhood and late teens, go through a process known as breaking out and acquire unique paranormal skills. Psionic abilities like telepathy, telekinesis, and teleportation are among them, but their psychological makeup keeps them from killing people on purpose. While some normal people know of their existence, the Tomorrow People usually keep their existence a secret out of concern that regular people, or what they refer to as saps, a term for Homo sapiens, may either be afraid or harm them due to their unique abilities or attempt to utilize them for military gain. Due to their innate reluctance to murder, known as the Prime Barrier, they're forced to defend themselves using non-lethal weapons like stun guns or martial arts. Interesting, right? Well, the show had a lot of versions and ran until the 8th version before it was cancelled. Yeah, it's truly a pity that we couldn't have more of this amazing show. Return to the Planet of the Apes, 1975. With all the hype around the latest installment in the Planet of the Apes saga, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it would have been a crime not to include this gem of a show. Return to the Planet of the Apes is a series based on the 1968 film Planet of the Apes and its sequels, which in turn were inspired by Pierre Boulle's 1963 novel of the same title. Return to the Planet of the Apes showed a technologically advanced society complete with cars, movies, and television. As such, it closely matched both Boulle's novel and early concepts for the first Apes film, which were changed due to budgetary limitations in the late 1960s. Similar to the movie and the live-action series, Return to the Planet of the Apes followed a group of Earth's astronauts who traveled into the future and became imprisoned in a society where sophisticated apes and primitive humans coexisted. The astronauts tried to stay one step ahead of the apes throughout the 13 episodes, but they also tried to piece together what had transpired. They also made every effort to protect the humans from the apes. Every episode was, well, for the most part, self-contained. There was a weaving together of the storylines, with characters and storylines from one episode appearing in another. The episodes must be watched in order for the series to make any sense. The animated series makes sense in terms of chronology within the larger Apes universe. Characters and plot points from the TV show, the films, and the original book are all borrowed. Logan's Run, 1977 to 1978. A spin-off of the 1976 movie of the same name, Logan's Run saw Gregory Harrison play Logan in the show, while Heather Menzies played Jessica and Randy Powell played Francis. Logan and Jessica have fled the City of Domes in order to avoid having to die when they turn 30, which is the fundamental idea and aesthetic of the series. The television show deviates from the film's plot in a number of ways, with Logan and Jessica being shown escaping in every episode to different parts of the future Earth in pursuit of the fabled sanctuary. Every episode also has an android named Rem, who's from a city run by robots and didn't make an appearance in the movie, helping Logan and Jessica. Due to the low viewership, the series was discontinued after just 14 episodes, which was definitely a shame. 3 more episodes were shot, but they were never shown. In the show, Logan and Jessica are shown running away from the city of domes, closely chased by Francis and a few other Sandmen. They set off on a journey through the post-apocalyptic United States in search of sanctuary, traveling in a sophisticated hovercraft-like vehicle that they discover in an abandoned structure in the ruins of Washington, D.C. They come across robots, aliens, and odd human communities along the way. Only the pilot and 2 additional episodes, which used repurposed movie footage, featured the domed metropolis. Unlike the novel and movie, the television show included a secret government of the city by a group formed of elderly residents who assured Francis he'd lived beyond the age of 30 to be a city elder after he caught the fugitives. The Gemini Man, 1976. The answer is no. This series is not related to the 2019 Gemini Man starring Will Smith. While the film was a great movie that showcased some interesting sci-fi elements with cloning and whatnot, this series takes the cake in portraying science fiction. In the television series, Ben Murphy played the casual, denim-wearing, motorcycle-riding secret agent Sam Casey. He became invisible after being exposed to radiation in an undersea explosion while diving to recover a downed Soviet spy satellite. The high-tech government think tank he worked for, Intersect, which stands for International Security Technologies. Yeah, I know it's not the greatest of names for an international secret agency, but I guess it works for them. Well, they discovered a way to bring him back into the public eye and manage his newfound ability through the use of a unique wristwatch known as a DNA stabilizer, created by scientist Abby Lawrence. A useful tool in his area of business. He could disappear completely by pressing a button on the digital watch, but he could only do this for 15 minutes a day before dying. So, the invisibility power of our secret agent might have some of you wondering whether this is related to the Invisible Man. Well, in that case, you'd be right. Gemini Man, the 3rd television series based on H.G. Wells' science fiction novel The Invisible Man, was developed to replace the Invisible Man in the previous season with less complex and costly visual effects. Star Trek, the animated series, 1973 to 1974. Some people, especially Star Trek fans, would be outraged at having a Star Trek series on a list of underrated shows, but the animated Star Trek series was definitely underrated, well, in my opinion. With the popularity of the bigger Star Trek series and the films, this gem of a show flew under the radar and didn't achieve the success it deserved. Most of the characters from Star Trek the original season are present in this second installment of the franchise, where Earth is a member of the Multi-Species United Federation of Planets. Star Trek, the animated series, takes place in the 23rd century, where Starfleet, the military and exploration branch of the Federation, has a fleet of starships that traverse the cosmos in search of extraterrestrial life. It chronicles the exploits of Captain James T. Kirk's Starfleet ship USS Enterprise as it travels through the Milky Way cosmos. Doomwatch, 1970 to 1972. The organization, officially known as the Department for the Observation and Measurement of Scientific Work, was led by the protagonist. Doomwatch was an organization tasked with protecting the planet from the risks associated with unethical scientific studies. One character said, "We were set up to investigate any scientific research, public or private, which could possibly be harmful to man." Its true goal was to create a weak body with the intention of quelling public outcry and winning support from green voters. But the agency eventually gained some real authority and status thanks to the incorruptible Spencer Quist and his associates. Ridge was a spy, Wren was a dedicated scientist, and Quist had worked on the atomic bomb project and witnessed his wife die from radiation exposure. Together, they brought science into people's living rooms by educating them about topics such as nuclear weapons, animal exploitation, toxic waste disposal, wonder medications, subliminal signals, and embryo research. Episodes featured a virus that ate away all kinds of plastic and caused airplanes to fall out of the sky, and a genetic abnormality that produced an especially huge and ferocious race of rats. Less dramatic stories also appeared, such as one on the health risks associated with jet lag. Jason of Star Command, 1978 to 1979. The show's main focus is the adventures of space explorer Jason, his associate Professor E.J. Parsafoot, and the pocket robot Wiki, formerly called W1K1. Using the same robot, Peepo, Jason was modeled from Filmation's 1977 live-action series Space Academy. Its first season, a Tarzan and the Super 7 segment, followed the format of old-fashioned movie serials, with 16 chapters that lasted roughly 15 minutes each and concluded on a cliffhanger. The second season ran for 30 minutes on its own. Jason pilots a Starfire, which in an emergency can have the star pod on it break out from the main body of the vessel. Comparable to the Space Academy in that it was constructed on a huge asteroid, Dragos is in charge of the enormous Dragon ship. Dragos uses unmanned drones as fighter craft, which was done by the creators of the show in order to avoid killing a pilot in the process of destroying these craft. This is often mentioned in the storyline as deadly violence had to be minimized in the show due to its airing time. The $6 Million Man, 1974 to 1978. After suffering serious injuries in an experimental lifting body aircraft crash, NASA astronaut USAF Colonel Steve Austin is rebuilt at a cost of $6 million, which is about $41.5 million in 2024. I know, right? That's a lot of money. I'm glad that the movie wasn't made in 2024. The $41.5 million man doesn't have the same ring to it as the $6 million man. Moving on. Steve Austin has bionic implants in his left eye, both legs and right arm that improves his strength, speed and vision far beyond what is typical for humans. He can run over 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, and his bionic limbs have all the power of a bulldozer. His eye also has a 20:1 zoom lens and infrared capabilities. He works as a secret agent for the OSI, which is an acronym for Office of Scientific Intelligence, using his improved abilities. The series was first released as made-for-TV film based on Martin Caidin's book Cyborg, which was released in 1972 and quickly became a bestseller. His three sequels, Operation Nuke, Eye Crystal, and Cyborg 4, each dealt with a nuclear weapons black market, a situation reminiscent of Chariots of the Gods, and the integration of Austin's bionic technology into a spacecraft. The initial film was a huge box office hit, was followed by two made-for-TV productions in October and November 1973 as part of ABC's weekly Movie of the Week rotation. The first was titled Wine, Women and War, and the second was The Solid Gold Kidnapping. While the second of these two was an original story, the first was strikingly similar to Caidin's second cyborg novel, Operation Nuke. The $6 Million Man made its weekly hour-long television series debut in January 1974. Following this, Sapphire and Steel, 1979 to 1982. After spending time at a reputedly haunted castle, Peter J. Hammond, the show's creator, came up with the idea for the series, which he initially dubbed as the Time Menders. The main characters of the show are Sapphire and Steel, two interdimensional operatives. Throughout the course of the series, very little is disclosed about their past or goals, although it seems like they're tasked with protecting time as it passes. These two are just two of several elements that take on human form and are dispatched to look into weird occurrences. Other elements that do this include Silver, a technician who can melt metal with his hands, and Lead, who adopts the appearance of a cheerful, amiable giant. Time is described in the series as a moving corridor that envelops everything, although there are gaps for time, which is meant to be a malevolent power to enter the present and seize objects. Along the hallway, there are creatures from both the beginning and the end of time, searching for the same openings for entry. The most common cause of these interruptions is the presence of something old in a modern environment, such as an antique decorated home, an old portrait, or a traditional nursery rhyme. Clinging to the past restricts development and makes it easier for time to enter the present. The more old items there are, the more easily this happens. When this time breach happens, investigators are dispatched to evaluate the situation. If further action is needed, operators are tasked by an enigmatic invisible authority to resolve the issue, with specialist support if needed. Sapphire and Steel typically appear out of nowhere at the beginning of each adventure, however occasionally they're there from the start. They'll then explore and interact with other people, albeit the most interesting thing is almost always the place the people are in. An old mansion from the 18th century, an abandoned train station, a modern filling station on a motorway, and so forth. The stories have an unsettling quality to them because they're as much science fiction as ghost stories, and they're typically highly enigmatic, leaving more questions than answers. The primary characters in the show are also characterized by ambiguity. It's evident that Sapphire and Steel's main priority is dealing with the breach in time, perhaps more so than the safety of the humans involved in the occurrences they investigate, despite Sapphire being presented as more amiable and human than the tough, serious Steel. The show's overall attitude is forward-looking, emphasizing that outdated items should be abandoned since they can harbor bad forces or allow the past to resurface. This scenario portrays freshness and progress as the counterbalance to time. The Omega Factor, 1979. Our last show on the list is X-Men meets Men in Black. In The Omega Factor, due to his underdeveloped psychic abilities, journalist Tom Crane is noticed by Department 7, a government outfit that's classified as need to know only, and that studies the potential of the human mind and paranormal events, hypnosis, brainwashing, telekinesis, extrasensory perception, poltergeist occurrences, out-of-body experiences, and spiritual possession are among the phenomena that have been investigated. In order to track down and get revenge on Edward Drexel, a dangerous rogue psychic who killed Crane's wife in a vehicle accident, Crane enlists in Department 7. Because of his work with the department and his innate psychic ability, Crane comes to believe that a shadowy group known as Omega is waging a deadly conspiracy to use mind control to take over the entire planet. Physicist Dr. Ann Reynolds, an old friend of Crane's wife, and psychiatrist Dr. Ray Martindale, the department's reclusive director, are among the members of Department 7. In most episodes, Anne, who falls in love with Crane but also has a brief relationship with Martindale, finds herself in the middle of an impatient fight between the impetuous and driven Crane and the cautious Martindale. Over the course of the show, a number of subplots emerge, most notably Crane's search for Drexel, his mounting misgivings about the Omega conspiracy, and his growing bond with Anne. What a show to end our list off. Marvelous verdict, and that marks the end of another marvelous video. We had an amazing time going through the different science fiction shows from the 70s. From Space 1999 to Return to the Planet of the Apes, these shows truly show us what science fiction is really about. As our exciting adventure through the world of 70s science fiction draws to a close, we hope you've enjoyed the thrill of witnessing these blasts from the past. So, stay tuned for more nostalgic journeys in the science fiction world. Which sci-fi show among these did you like the most? Was there anything specific about them that captured your curiosity? Let us know all about it in the comments down below. Oh, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. It means the world to us when you help us grow. Until next time, guys, have a good one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.